this is C&D Chow. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my post-fight analysis for UFC on Fox 13. Overall, I thought it was a good card. A bit of a bizarre card, too, especially the prelims, with the way Varner lost by slamming his head, the way Riggs lost, the whole Willie Gates, Moraga thing with, like, him, you know, telling the ref he got hit with a low blow, and then, like, you know, Gates still fighting. It's just odd. I actually wasn't against that. Jacek and Gedalia, the post-fight, you know, little strikes thrown post-bell. Nate Diaz, you know, I mean, just being overweight and whatnot. So there's something to be said about how bizarre this card was as well. Unfortunately, I did really bad with my picks this time. 5 out of 12. A couple of them were a bit noticeable in hindsight. I should have picked Overeem over Struve. I went on a big rant about that too, and now I'm eating crow about that one. Machado over Whiteley is another one I should have picked. He's just a better wrestler, younger fighter. Some of these other ones actually surprised me. Endless over Burchak really surprised me. Not too surprised over Barberena over Ellenberger. Both of them are pretty low tier. Dober over Varner actually kind of surprises me. I think Jacek versus Gedalia would be close. I actually had it for Gedalia, to be honest with you. I figured Matt Mitrione versus Gonzaga can go either way as well. And as far as bonuses go, Entwistle on Mitrione won Performance of the Night bonuses, while Dos Santos and Miocic earned Fight of the Night honors. Let's get started. Junior Dos Santos defeated Stipe Miocic by unanimous decision, 249-46 and 148-47. It's a real competitive fight. I gotta say though, and I think a lot of people agree with this, Dos Santos looked really slow, looked a bit rusty. I don't know how much the Velasquez fight took out of him, but, you know, he just, you know, he was getting less combinations, more power shots. I mean, Miocic looked really good, though. I mean, he was always in the fight, hit Dos Santos clean. And the other thing is, too, Dos Santos is taking a lot of hits lately. I mean, he's got a really good chin, but he backs up straight against the cage with his chin out. I mean, he gets tagged like almost all the time now. So yeah, I gotta say Dos Santos looked particularly slower than I've seen him before. I don't know if it's rust or he's just been battered. And you know, this is he's been through these 5-round wars now, with like 2 with Cain Velasquez where he just got beat up and knocked down. At least in one point of both of their fights, or of his 2 fights against Velasquez, and then I had a war of attrition here with Miocic. So I mean, it's gonna be very curious to see Dos Santos' performances moving forward. Miocic though looks good. I think he should just keep fighting some elite guys. Maybe the loser Mir versus Bigfoot. If you want to give him something of a gimme, give him Brendan Schaub. Mark Hunt versus Miocic would actually be pretty cool as well. With Dos Santos, maybe Overeem actually makes sense just because they've had a lot of heat. But Travis Brown's coming after that win over Schaub, so Brown versus Dos Santos. Winner gets the winner of Verdun versus Velasquez, maybe. I'm not too interested in seeing Dos Santos versus Velasquez 4 to be, it's just not an interesting fight to me at all. You can also do Dos Santos versus Arlovsky. That works as well. Next fight with that, Rafael Dos Anjos defeated Nate Diaz by unanimous decision. 230-26 scorecards and 130-27. Domination by Dos Anjos, man. I figured that he would win. I didn't figure he would just dominate like he did. Man, those leg kicks. I remember the Emerson fight, and I remember, man, Dos Anjos has some really good leg kicks. And Nate Diaz does not check leg kicks, and it showed. This is interesting on the Diaz front too, because Nate Diaz, he missed weight by 5 pounds. He's been criticizing the UFC for like pay and fighter treatment and whatnot. Very critical of the UFC. Asked for his release. Missed an open workout. He claims, him or his brother claimed that he was injured from training, and I guess that's why he missed weight by so much. But man, did he look unmotivated? Like, he doesn't look like a guy that wants to be there anymore, you know. And his performance really showed. He actually just physically looked out of shape too for a lightweight. So yeah, you know, Diaz does not come away, in my opinion, looking that great here. And also, he was also trying to smack talk, give Dos Anjos the double finger, go for some slaps, you know, and it's typical Diaz, I guess. But like, you know, it's kind of like, you're losing, you're getting beat up too. He got beat up, he got taken down, he got beat up on the ground, got his guard passed a couple times, got beat up on the feet as well. Yeah, one other thing with Dos Anjos, I kind of thought that he should have maybe kept the fight standing. I thought that would have been a more sure way of probably getting the finish. Not to say he wasn't beating up Diaz on the ground, because he was. Well, I thought he would have actually gotten the finish had it remained standing. According to Dana White, Rafael Dos Anjos gets the next title shot against Anthony Pettis. I think that's really fair. Pettis just won, like, was it last week? Something like that, yeah. You know, he won recently. Dos Anjos has big wins over Cerrone, beat Benson Henderson in this win streak, now beat Nate Diaz. I hear Khabib Nurmagomedov is going to be out, probably not ready by the time that these two would fight. And I would think Khabib should probably get another fight in there to shake the rust out before fighting Pettis anyways. Dos Anjos deserves it. He's looked really good for a long time now, actually. So, yeah, I don't think he beats Pettis. But I think based on merit, yeah, Dos Anjos deserves it. And a performance like this, dominate Nate Diaz like that, yeah, you know, definitely a deserving title challenger. With Diaz, I don't know if the UFC's going to cut him. He's Dana White's hasn't been happy with him. Because the thing is, you know, Bellator's going to take him. So it's tough to say what happens to Diaz moving forward. Maybe they cut him and he goes to Bellator. If not, you know, I mean, he can just fight like, I don't know, the loser of T-Bow versus Park. Loser of Jury versus Cerrone, maybe. There's fights for him, you know. There's a couple, you know, there's a lot of fights. I'm just kind of thinking who he can fight. Next fight after that, Alistair Overeem defeated Stefan Struve by knockout in the first round. Eating crow here, man. I will freely admit I went on this big rant in my predictions about how Overeem's cardio is bad, his chin is bad, but Struve's chin isn't that good. I was fully aware of that. I will say that Overeem does look hesitant on the feet now. I think getting knocked out so much is not gonna, you know, has made him a bit hesitant to pull the trigger. Also, Struve was a lot taller. I think Overeem going with a more grappling heavy approach to his fights moving forward is actually a very sound strategy. He did that to Frank Mir, and I thought that was a good strategy. And he did it here. Overeem has a very underrated offensive takedown ability. He's good on the ground. His ground and pound isn't that bad. And also, it'll conserve his cardio more than the stand-up, especially if he gets hit. If he's in top position for a couple rounds, it'll conserve his cardio more so than like keeping the fight standing. Most likely with him, getting hit clean. Smart game plan from Overeem. I'm kind of wondering if he utilizes that game plan moving forward against other competition. Struve, man, this guy gets knocked out a lot. I mean, he gets knocked out cold too. Overeem does too. So these are two guys with really bad chins. With that said, I think Overeem Mitrione works really well. But if you want to go with like maybe the Hunt fight, another fight with Mark Hunt, Todd Duffy would actually be pretty cool. Junior Dos Santos versus Overeem, they've had a lot of heat. UFC's wanted to put that fight together for a while. That works as well. Struve, maybe get like a Gonzaga next, who also doesn't have the greatest chin. And going to segue in there. Matt Mitrione defeated Gabriel Gonzaga by TKO in the first round. Gonzaga going for that right cross body punch over and over again. Really cost him against Mitrione. Mitrione's a more athletic fighter. I thought Gonzaga should have probably tried to go for more takedowns. I'm disappointed he didn't. Mitrione's a better athlete. He's better in the stand-up too. He's just a faster fighter. I think this is actually that gatekeeper win he's needed. He's lost to Chad Congo, lost to Roy Nelson, but he's beaten the other gatekeeper to the top of the division and Gabriel Gonzaga. He should probably get some bigger fights now. Maybe Arlovsky, Overeem works as well. Gonzaga can get Struve or maybe Roy Nelson next. Maybe the loser Mir versus Bigfoot would be good for Gonzaga as well. Mitrione can get the winner of that fight. That would work too. Okay, on to the Fox Sports 1 prelims. Joanna Jacek, I think I'm pronouncing it right, Jacek, defeated Claudia Gadelha by unanimous or split decision. Pretty controversial. I personally had Gadelha winning it. I thought she was winning with the severe grappling. There were a lot of eye pokes from Joanna as well. It was a pretty back and forth fight. Even in the stand-up, I mean, Gadelha was in it, but Jacek was just sharper. She utilized a jab really well. Takedown defense was really good. It sounds like Jacek is going to get the title shot against Esparza next, which I'm more than fine with. And honestly, I at this point, I kind of favor Jacek to beat Esparza. It's funny. I was watching this with some friends, but they didn't watch the Ultimate Fighter finale. I recorded it, and we watched this fight, and then we watched Esparza versus Namajunas fight, and we all agreed that this fight was just a much better fight, just on a technical basis, than Esparza Namajunas. I mean, Namajunas is really new. And it makes me wonder about Esparza too, because Esparza, she's been like back brawling. She beat a bunch of people in the Ultimate Fighter house. But of course the format's a little different, 2 rounds instead of 3 sometimes. Not a full training camp and whatnot. I gotta wonder moving forward how Esparza's gonna perform against your Jaceks, Gadelhas, who are a bit less raw, who are a bit less raw than, say, like a Namajunas, who has a couple more fights. How Esparza would do against like a Jessica Aguilar, maybe in a Kalinda Faria. Just these female fighters that don't have such noticeable holes on their game. But yeah, Jacek versus Esparza. should be pretty good. I favor Jacek just because one other thing about Esparza too, she's small for the weight class. Jacek and Gadea are actually pretty big for the weight class. So, and also Jacek's takedown defense is pretty good. I don't think Esparza has that same takedown ability that Gadea has and that same clinch ability. Because Gadea likes to overpower her opponent. She's really strong. Esparza doesn't have that same strength. She's not particularly big for the weight class. So that should be really interesting how that goes. With Gadea, maybe just get like Randa Marcos next. Maybe Nina Ansaroff. I don't want to say anyone, like, you can give like a Magana or like an Ellis or like a Rawlings, but she's just going to run through them. She should get someone a little more mid, at the very least mid-level, a little better than that. And those are the only people I can think that are strawweights that are coming off loss. I wouldn't want to give her Rose Namajunas. I think they should build Rose, and there's enough fighters she can she can get cage time with that aren't so high level. So yeah, next fight after that, John Moraga defeated Willie Gates by rear naked choke in the 3rd round. Keep yourself protected at all times, Mr. John Moraga. Or protect yourself at all times. That's the rule of thumb in combat sports, and it applies here. I was not against what Willie Gates did about that whole weird, I guess it was a timeout almost, mid-fight. I mean, the ref said keep going. Willie Gates threw the punch and chops Moraga. But you know what? I liked what I saw out of Moraga here. I really did. I thought, he really comes across like a guy who's been fighting in the UFC for a while. He definitely, he's now more of like, I think he kind of fulfills the role of like flyweight savvy veteran now, more so than ever. Like, I don't think he's ever going to contend for the title, but he'll give a tough fight to the top guys. He's kind of a gatekeeper in a sense. He'll beat your Justin Scoggins. Barely beat Dustin Ortiz, even though I don't think he should have got the win. Lose to your John Dodsons and whatnot. So I'm actually liking what I see out of Moraga. He fought a very smart fight. Didn't totally, after the incident and almost getting choked out, reversed the position, and he went to work. And, he kept his head together. So I actually liked what I saw from him, just in the sense of that he fought kind of like a veteran. He clinched against the cage a lot against Gates, who's really tall, and stayed out of range striking when he could. With Moraga, I think they should treat him as something of a high level gatekeeper at this point. If you want to give him like a Horiguchi next, I think Horiguchi's fighting someone that's like Gadina. I think he's fighting Gadina. If you want to give him the winner of that, that would work. Ray Borg versus Moraga, maybe. A little too soon for Ray Borg. But yeah, just fighters like that. With Gates, Gates pretty good. He's not too bad. He needs a lot of work. He's really raw. But still has time to improve. Really tall for the weight class, so that should really help him. Needs to work on that wrestling though. Some more lower to mid-tier fighters for him. Ben Saunders defeated Joe Riggs due to Riggs getting injured. It looks like he slammed it like on that takedown. It looks like he tweaked his shoulder, but like he said that he had neck problems too. Really unfortunate ending to that fight. I don't know if they'll do a rematch or not. Riggs is getting older, and I guess he's got some fights left in him, but it's for him to get, he's had some bad luck lately, is what I want to say. Self-inflicted gunshot wound, and now this. Not exactly the best of luck for Joe Riggs as of late. With Saunders, I think he fulfills the role of fun action fighter at this point. I can't really call him a prospect anymore, at this point. But I think he definitely has a role of like mid-level fun action fighter. He can fight the likes of if they want to give him the rematch, that's cool. If you want to give him like a Warley Alves and Alan Jaban, who else is like a Ponzinibbio, if you want to give him the fun fights, he's a good, I'd say mid-level fighter. Cool guy too. Actually, he goes on Bloody Elbow a lot, among other. And actually gave a shout out to the UG and Bloody Elbow and Super Kala and whatnot. Cool guy. But yeah, unfortunate ending. But if they want a rematch, it's fine. They don't necessarily need to though. Next fight, I thought Drew Dober defeated Jamie Varner by rear naked choke in the first round. I mean, the story of this fight really is that Varner retired after this fight. And the other story of the fight is how he slammed the back of his head against the mat, going for that lateral drop. Varner does not get any lucky breaks either, Against James Krause, there's that ankle injury, and now this. Had that not happened, I kind of wonder how the fight would turn out too. I don't really think Drew Dober is this great prospect or anything like that. He's still young, but this is a really good win to have. But I don't know how well Drew Dober is gonna fare in the UFC. I think he's a mid-level fighter at best at this point. Varner, man, that guy turned it around. I mean, he was pretty hated in the WEC, especially with his comments towards after the Benson Henderson fight. I came to fight, he came to grapple, or he came to wrestle or something like that, and but when he came back to the UFC, he beat Barboza, and then I got my dog with me actually, so that's the thing. He beat Barboza, but then he had a fight of the year candidate with Joe Lozon, and then the other thing is he kept taking fights on short notice, and whatnot. He started to endear himself to MMA fans as being something of this rugged veteran fighter. Had a really fun fight with Abel Trujillo. So, when he came back into the UFC, he lost a lot more than he won for sure, but he still endeared himself to a good amount of fans. Good luck to whatever he wants to do, really, with Drew Dober. Just more lower to mid-tier fighters of the division. Next fight after that, Brian Barberena defeated Joe Ellenberger by TKO in the third round. Joe Ellenberger's got no cardio, man. He's on the James Muntazri fight, and you see it here. He did well in the first round with getting takedowns and whatnot. He can't really do much after the takedowns. Barberena isn't the greatest fighter either. He's actually pretty sloppy, but he always pushes forward. He's kind of tough as nails, and he has that going for him. On a technical level, though, he's not that great. I can't really call him much of a prospect, to be honest. To be perfectly honest with you. For both of them, just more lower to mid-tier guys at the division. Okay, on to the Fight Pass. Is this Fight Pass prelims? Yeah. David Machado defeated Garrett Whiteley by unanimous decision. Interesting fight in the sense that I know in the second round, Machado got a takedown and just started getting elbowed so much from the bottom from Whiteley. It kind of looked like Machado did more control, whereas Whiteley did more damage, even though he was off his back. Throughout a good, like the second and even the third round too. I thought there was an argument at least to give it to Garrett Whiteley. Not much to say. Both of these guys are like lower tier fighters, you know. Machado, at least he's 26, I think, 26, 27, something like that. Trains at a good camp with MMA Lab. And has a wrestling base. So maybe there's some upside with them. I don't see it quite yet, you know. But, you know, just more lower to mid-tier guys of the division. With Whiteley, I think there's like 3 losses in a row now. He doesn't have good takedown defense. Was getting taken down by Vince Pichel in his last fight. He's probably going to get cut from the UFC now. Next fight after that, Henry Cejudo defeated Dustin Kimura by unanimous decision. Cejudo really wants to cut down to 125. He has that height and frame that I think would be better suited for 125. You know? I think he can do well at bantamweight and might be slower than a lot of guys at flyweight, but that's what he wants to do. And if what he says is true, and he only cuts from like 144 pounds, it's not the worst idea, to be honest. You know. I liked Cejudo's boxing in this fight, though. This guy is definitely a great athlete. He has the boxing. He has really good wrestling as well. His clinch game's good. It's just all about motivation with him. You know, he's a top blue chip prospect. You know, Olympic pedigree. If he wants to be a world champion, he probably could. But his head needs to be in the game. Needs to get the right people coaching him and whatnot. I'm not actually criticizing it. I don't know anything about his coaching staff. It's just, to my knowledge, I don't know if he trains at one of the bigger camps. But, you know, blue chip prospect. I'm curious to see if he can make weight from 125, and I'm curious to see just his performances moving forward. Dustin Kimura, I mean, he's not much of a prospect anymore, you know. More lower to mid-tier guys in the division for both these guys. And finally, Ian Entwistle defeated Anthony Burchak by heel hook in the first round. Kind of surprised by this, actually. Entwistle's pretty one-dimensional. I mean, he's like a super aggressive submission grappler type. You know, he'll dive for leg locks and whatnot. So, and those types, unless they're Husmar Palhares, maybe like Shinyaoki, don't last long. I know there's like Marcin Bandel that just lost. Is it Marcin Bandel? I think it's Marcin Bandel. He lost pretty recently, actually. I think it was against Tysumov. Same style fighter. I mean, Marcin Held can work that game too really well. But even against Patricky Pitbull, I mean, he was working more of a top control game and improving his stand-up, too, progressively. Yeah, but this kind of surprised me because I was actually pretty high on Burchak as a prospect. You know, he's coming off MFC, got some good seasoning in the regional scene. I thought he would beat Joe Soto, to be honest, when they were supposed to fight. He's a good wrestler. Stand-up's not too bad. Hopefully he can right the ship here. Definitely, but yeah, pretty surprising actually for me that he lost to Entwistle. I thought this was something more of a lock. I mean, Entwistle he always has the leg lock. You know, like, worst comes to worst, he can dive for those leg locks and maybe get him, maybe not. Against Daniel Hooker, he just got ground and pounded while going for this leg lock, you know. So, good one for Entwistle. I didn't think he was that long for the UFC to, you know, but He's staying. Just more lower to mid-tier guys of the division for these two. So that's it for my post-fight analysis for UFC on Fox 13. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.